Bossier Webster District Attorney Schuyler Marvin joining us this morning on the phone. I believe you're in New Orleans, correct?
I am.
Well,
We have a DA meeting down here.
Okay, well, I hope you learn all kind of great stuff to bring home to us.
All right.
I want to talk to you about the officer-involved shooting that you have now issued your report on. It involves Officer Patrick Edmonds, Jr., who shot and killed 45-year-old Shannon Rupert at a hotel in Bossier. What did you determine, Schuyler?
We reviewed all of myself and my first assistant and 4 detectives from the BCPD sat down and reviewed all the video from the body cam, video from the security, and written statements by the manager there and others who saw bits and pieces of this incident.
And your determination is what?
My determination was that the officer was justified in using deadly force and firing his weapon. He did exactly what he was trained to do. Several things. The victim was acting extremely strange. Came behind the counter of in the lobby, and the manager eventually she took the phone away from the manager's hands and attempted or acted like she was calling someone, but you had to dial a certain number to get an outside line. She did not do that, and she hit about 25 or 30 numbers, so we don't believe that she was actually talking to anyone. But she was very strange, talking about Satan and killing Satan and things like that. And the manager at that point said, "You know what? I'm away from this." So he just more or less exited himself from behind the counter and moved to the other side of the lobby. The officer was called for just a disturbance call. So when he enters, he does not have his weapon drawn at that point, and he tells at that point the victim had armed herself with a pair of scissors that were in like a pencil holder behind the lobby's desk, as well as a pocket knife that she had, and the blade was open. So she had a knife in one hand and scissors in the other, and the officer tells her to put her weapons down and come around here. And she uses a couple of racial epithets at the officer, who was African American. He doesn't appear to react to that, and she eventually comes around the counter, but still armed with both of those weapons, and has them over her head in a kind of stabbing type motion. And he's screaming at her to put the weapons down and get down, put the weapons down. She refuses all of that, and she does at one point say, "You're gonna have to kill me." And she starts coming at the officer with the weapons above, and when she gets about 4 feet to 5 feet is when he fired his weapon twice.
He put a pretty bright light in her face, and that didn't seem to slow her down. Nothing he said to her.
He has a flashlight mounted on the front of his pistol, and he hit her twice across the eyes with that, either by accident or intentionally trying to distract her, but that did not work either. And then when she gets 4 to 5 feet away is when he discharges his weapon, and you can tell immediately after she struck with the bullet, she does a falling motion in a somersault and rolls forward, which indicated to us that she was definitely coming toward the officer, because if you get struck twice in the chest with a bullet, if you're standing there, you're just going to fall completely down or fall backwards.
Yeah.
But she falls forward.
Talking to DA Schuyler Marvin in Bossier Parish, you obviously talked to the officer, Patrick Edmonds, Jr. What did he tell you in terms of his fear for his own safety?
At the time we reviewed all of the evidence that we saw, he had not yet been interviewed by the officers. There's a 24, 48-hour cooling off period that they allow an officer to, decompress, lack of a better word. And they were talking to him. That was Monday morning after the shooting that we performed our investigation, and they were interviewing him at 1 o'clock that day. So I did not personally speak with Officer Edmonds.
And the studies show that the officers are able to recall better after a couple sleep cycles. I mean,
I think that's what the experts say.
Yep.
Okay, and you know what everyone in town is saying. Why didn't he taser? Could he have used less lethal force? How do you respond to that?
Well, the Bossier PD officers do not carry tasers. None of them do. Supervisors do. This officer had already called for his supervisor to arrive. On his body cam, you can see him reaching for his microphone that's located on his shoulder, on his left shoulder, I think, and asking that a supervisor come. But you're down at that point. You're down to just a matter of a few seconds before the shooting occurred.
Could he have backed out of that establishment rather than fire? I mean, I'm just being devil's advocate here. Are there other options he could have taken to avoid taking a life?
Well, I mean, everybody's got 20/20 hindsight. I get that, but officers are trained to do certain things. When a person is coming at an officer with a dangerous weapon, he did exactly what he was trained to do, and that is, at that point, she's 4 feet away. I think the rule is about 21 feet away. Once it gets inside 21 feet of a person who is confronting an officer, your reaction time is, to a second to 2 seconds, something like that. But when she comes out from around that counter, prior to that, and I don't know that the officer saw this, but it's on the tape and the manager reported it, she grabs a Windex bottle that's half full of, blue-colored Windex and unscrews it and takes a shot off of it, takes a drink of it. And, I mean, it's just Windex.
Yeah.
And then she screws the lid back on it and puts it back on the counter where it came from.
What do we know? What do we know about her? Has there been a history with her? Has she caused disturbances at other places?
I don't know about that. Obviously, her body was autopsied, and I'm sure toxicology that accompanies autopsies usually takes about 3 weeks. You'll get the autopsy report back way ahead of the tox reports, but that'll be pretty telling. I know that we did not find anything in the hotel room that she had rented, anything indicative of drug use or something, but something was obviously bad wrong. Nobody drinks Windex and does what she does. I don't have all the answers, but I just know from what the videos show that the officer acted as any other reasonable officer would.
And one more thing, what started her agitation? Do you know what sparked it?
No, according to the manager, she just came down and just started screaming and talking about Satan and God and the devil, and then came behind the counter. And when she picked up those scissors, the manager says, "I'm out," and walks away. And walks out to the front doors. And the officer arrived just, 10, 15 seconds later.
Wow. Bossier Webster DA Schuyler Marvin, thanks for your time this morning. Safe travels getting home.
Thank you.
You
Good
bet.
morning.